Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of the Light and Shadow podcast. I'm so deeply honored you're here, truly. Whether you've been walking this healing path with me for a while, or you're arriving in this moment for the very first time, know that you are exactly where you are meant to be. There's something here for your heart, a truth that wants to be remembered, a part of you that's ready to rise. This podcast is more than a conversation. It's a sacred space for remembrance, reflection, and reclamation. I'm your host, Reiki Master, Life Coach, and a Psychic Healer, and in this space, we explore the depth of healing that most people are afraid to touch. We dive into the light and the shadow, the unseen patterns we carry, the love we long for, the boundaries we're learning to hold, and the wounds we're finally ready to release. Here, we don't bypass the pain, we alchemize it. We don't fix what's broken, we return to what's sacred. In our last episode, we explored the powerful difference between a true connection and a trauma bond, and how to begin calling your energy back from relationships rooted in survival, not safety. And today, we go deeper into something tender, something personal, something sacred. How do you begin to trust yourself again after betrayal? Not just trusting others, but trusting yourself, your intuition, your heart, your voice, your choices, and your ability to feel safe inside your own body again. Because betrayal doesn't just damage the bond you had with someone else, it ruptures the bond you had with yourself. And so much of the healing journey becomes about mending that sacred thread, about returning to the wisdom you once silenced, the truth you once doubted, the version of you that once felt so safe before it all broke. So today, we're going to walk through what that healing looks like, what it means to rebuild trust in your body, in your voice, in your knowing, and how to do it gently, without rushing, without shame. And before we begin, I invite you, if this episode speaks to your soul, please take a moment to like and subscribe and share this message with someone who might need it today. And if you want the journey with me in real time, I'd love for you to follow me on TikTok at Great Ethereus, where I share daily spiritual insights, rituals, energy guidance, and healing to help support you on your path. Your presence here means more than you know, and I'm so grateful to walk this path beside you. Betrayal is not just a broken promise. It's not just the moment someone walked away, lied, chose someone else, or shattered your expectations. It's a rupture of trust in the places you once felt safest, or at least believed you were. And that's what makes it so devastating. Because betrayal doesn't only break your heart, it breaks your sense of reality. It's the moment your nervous system says, wait, how did I not see this coming? It's your intuition whispering, was I wrong? It's your soul asking, if I couldn't trust them, can I even trust myself? Betrayal leaves behind an echo, not just of the person who hurt you, but of your own doubt, your own voice, second guessing every memory, every choice, every red flag you might have missed. How could have I not known? Why didn't I listen to that feeling in my gut? Was it my fault? Is something wrong with me for believing in them? Can I even trust my own judgment again? these questions don't just haunt your mind, they live in your body. In the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest, the fear of softness, the inability to let anyone close again. And often, the most painful part of betrayal isn't the loss of the other person, it's the loss of your own inner safety. The crack in the mirror where you once looked and believed in your ability to discern, to choose, to love wisely. This is why healing from betrayal is not just about moving on from the other person, it's about coming back to yourself. It's the version of you who still knows, who still feels, who still deserves trust. Not because they never made a mistake, but because they are still worthy of belief, even after pain. Healing means saying, I may not have known then, but I can listen now. I may have lost myself for a moment, but I am finding my way home. I am not broken because someone else was dishonest. I am a human, and I am healing. And that is where trust begins again. Let's talk about something deeply tender, something many people carry silently and with shame. When someone else betrays you, it often triggers a quiet internal betrayal of self. Because betrayal isn't always just about the other person's actions, it's about what we do to ourselves in the aftermath. In the shock, in the pain, in the disorientation, we begin to question everything, including our own voice. You might ignore your intuition because somewhere deep down you didn't feel something was off, but ignoring it felt safer than facing the truth. You might gaslight your own feelings. You start telling yourself, maybe I'm overreacting, or maybe it's not that bad, just to maintain the illusion of safety or keep the relationship intact. You might carry shame for what you didn't see or what you saw and denied. You replayed moments over and over, hoping to find a moment where you should have known. You might harden your heart, not out of strength, but as a defense mechanism. Vulnerability starts to feel like danger. So you build walls, not boundaries. You might seek validation from others because your internal compass feels broken. You no longer trust your own voice, so you hand the map to someone else and ask them where to go. This too is a trauma response. It's not your fault. This is your nervous system doing what it knows best, protecting you, creating distance from pain, attempting to re-establish control in a world that suddenly felt unsafe. But what begins as protection can slowly turn into self-abandonment. You begin silencing your truth to avoid pain. You override your needs to maintain peace. You ignore your own body's signals in order to feel loved, wanted, or safe again. This is where self-betrayal sneaks in, not loudly, but quietly, softly, in ways that feel reasonable at first, until one day, you realize that the person you stopped believing in the most was you. But here's the beauty. Healing doesn't ask you to go back and do it all differently. Healing asks you to come back to yourself now, to the version of you who still holds wisdom, who still feels, who still knows. To say, even though I turned away from myself, I'm listening now. Even though I doubted myself, I am rebuilding trust. Not by being perfect, but by being present. This is where real power begins again. Not in perfection, but in the sacred act of returning to the part of you that got hurt and let it speak without shame. Because your inner voice was never broken, it was just waiting for you to come home. Let's be clear, healing after betrayal is not about going back to who you were before. You're not here to return to an old version of yourself. You're here to become someone wiser, more grounded, more discerning, more in love with the truth of who you are than ever before. You are not rebuilding ruins. You are building something new from the ashes, with stronger roots, deeper walls, and a soul that refuses to abandon itself again. Here's how we begin that sacred rebuild. First, validate your experience. It begins not with forgiveness, not with spiritual bypassing, but with truth. Stop minimizing, stop justifying, stop editing the story to make it easier for others. Betrayal hurts. It deserves to be honored, not just explained away. Whether the betrayal came from a partner, a friend, a family member, a spiritual teacher, or life itself not unfolding as you'd hoped, you get to grieve. You get to say, that was wrong, that was not okay. I did not deserve that. That broke something sacred in me. This is the very first brick in rebuilding self-trust, telling yourself the truth. Because until you can validate your own experience, you'll keep outsourcing your reality to others. And that's where trust will keep slipping away. Second, listen to the voice you silenced. There's a voice inside you that knew. It may have been quiet, shaky, or drowned out by hope, but it whispered. Maybe it said, something doesn't feel right. Maybe it tugged at you in the silence. Maybe it screamed, and you still stayed, hoping things would change. That voice isn't gone. It's just been waiting, not to shame you, but to be welcomed home. This isn't about blame. This is about reconnection. Try writing. Dear intuition, I'm sorry I stopped listening to you. I was scared. I didn't know how to trust you then, but I hear you now. I'm ready to build this relationship again. Your intuition isn't angry. It's not vengeful. It's just ready to speak, to guide, to be part of your life again. Third, release the shame. Shame is sticky. It tells you, you should have known better. It whispers, this is your fault. It convinces you that your softness was weakness and that trusting was a mistake. But here's the deeper truth. You didn't fail. You loved. You hoped. You opened. You believed. And that is not foolishness. That is bravery. Shame is just the voice of the wound. Compassion is the voice of the healer. So speak to yourself like someone who matters. Say, I was doing the best I could with what I knew then. I was choosing love, and that is never something to be ashamed of. Let yourself be soft again, because that softness, that's not weakness. That's your access point to truth, and trust begins there. Fourth, create rituals of reclamation. Energetically, betrayal scatters your power. It leaves pieces of you in conversations, memories, apologies you never received, questions left unanswered. In my work with clients, I use Reiki, cord cutting, and empowerment candles to call their energy back. Because healing isn't just emotional, it's energetic. If you're ready to start this work on your own, try this simple ritual. Light a white candle for clarity, or pink one for self-love. Place your hands over your heart and close your eyes. Speak gently but clearly. I forgive myself for what I did not know. I call all of my energy back to me, cleansed, healed, and whole. I reclaim my power. I reclaim my trust. Repeat it until you feel the words land in your body. Let it become your sacred practice, not to fix, but to reaffirm that you are not lost. You are returning. Fifth, practice tiny acts of self-trust. Self-trust is not built in one giant leap. It's built in small, daily decisions, each one a vote in favor of your inner knowing. Say no, and don't explain why. Rest, even when the world says hustle. Choose what feels right, even when it doesn't make sense to others. Let yourself take up space, even if your voice shakes. Each one of these actions says, I hear you, I believe in you, you are safe with me. Self-trust grows like a garden with intention, consistency, and grace. And just like a garden, you don't pull the roots when you miss a day. You water again tomorrow. Lastly, say this when you doubt yourself, because you will. Doubt will come. Fear will whisper. The old patterns will try to pull you back. And in those moments, say this: I am no longer abandoning myself to be safe. My inner voice is wise. My body is my ally. Even if I get it wrong, I will not turn against myself. I trust me again. Even if your voice trembles, even if you don't fully believe it yet, say it until it becomes familiar. Say it until your soul remembers. You were never broken. You just stopped listening. We've been conditioned to believe that trust, especially self-trust, comes only after we've earned it. After we get it right. After we stop making mistakes. After we become someone worthy of our own belief. But that's not real trust. That's conditional trust. And conditional trust is fragile. It crumbles the moment you fall short. Real self-trust is not built on perfection. It's not about having all the answers, never doubting yourself, or always making the right choice. It's about presence. It's about staying with yourself, even when things get messy, even when you feel confused, even when your heart is aching and your mind is spiraling. Self-trust is about being able to say, even if I make the wrong decision, I will not abandon myself. Even if I mess up, I will not punish myself for being a human. Even if I feel afraid, I will still honor my truth. It's the sacred commitment to keep coming back to yourself, to your breath, to your body, to your inner knowing, even if it wavers. Because safety isn't built through control, it's built through consistency. Through the everyday moments when you prove to yourself, I've got me. When you choose rest instead of forcing productivity, when you speak your truth, even if your voice shakes, when you listen to your intuition, even if others don't understand, and when you forgive yourself for the version of you that didn't know better and still choose love. That's what rebuilds safety in your nervous system. That's what allows you to feel at home in your own body again. That's what turns trust from a lofty goal into a living practice. So, if you're waiting to feel 100% ready, flawless, or certain before you trust yourself again, let this be your reminder. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. You need to stay with your fear, with your doubt, with your truth, and say, even now, I choose me. Because that's how self-trust is built. Not in the moments you feel invincible, but in the moments you choose to be kind to yourself anyway. Let's do a self-trust affirmation ritual, shall we? Find a quiet space. Place one hand over your heart and the other on your belly. Take a few deep breaths. Let your body soften. Let your shoulders drop. Let this moment be just for you. When you're ready, repeat slowly, either aloud or in your mind. I am safe to trust myself again. Even if I've made mistakes, even if I have doubted, I choose to return, not to perfection, but to presence. I listen to my intuition. I honor my knowing. I trust the wisdom of my body. Even when it's hard, I am here. I am with me. I am enough. Breathe that in. Let the words wrap around your nervous system like a soft blanket. You can return to this anytime you feel disconnected, uncertain, or like you're spiraling in self-doubt. This is how trust is rebuilt. Gently, breath by breath, moment by moment. I need you to try this journaling prompt before you sleep tonight. Where have I abandoned myself in the past? And how can I choose myself today? And remember, your ability to trust again starts with how gently you return to you. Remember, beautiful soul, you are not broken because someone failed to love you the way you deserved. Their inability to meet you, to honor your softness, to hold your heart with care, that is not a reflection of your own worth. It's a reflection of their capacity. And you were never meant to shrink just to fit into someone else's smallness. You are not foolish for trusting. That trust came from your open heart, your sacred willingness to believe in love. That is not a weakness, that is your superpower. It means you still carry hope. It means you still believe in the beauty of connection. That kind of courage, that's holy. You are not weak for needing healing. You are human. And being human means sometimes you break, sometimes you bend, and sometimes you walk through fires that leave you changed. But healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been, beneath the fear, the silence, the armor. You are powerful, not because you've never been wounded. You are powerful because you're still here, still standing, still breathing, still loving, still opening your heart, even if it trembles, still showing up to do the sacred work of reclaiming the pieces of yourself that were never truly lost, only waiting to be seen, to be welcomed back, to be held in your own light. And if this episode touched your heart in any way, if it helped you feel seen, softened, or safe, I'd be so honored if you would take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might be walking through the same storm. You never know who needs to hear your healing alongside theirs. And I'd love for you to follow me also on TikTok at Grey Ethereus description in bio, where I share daily spiritual insights, rituals, energy guidance, and healing to help support you on your path. And if you're ready to go deeper, to release old energy, reconnect to your body, and restore your trust, I invite you to book a private session with me. We'll work together through Reiki, intuitive life coaching, and custom candles rituals to help you clear the cords of the past, realign your energy, and come home to your power. Softly, deeply, intentionally. And next time, on the Light and Shadow podcast, we'll be diving into a sacred and empowering topic that every soul on this path needs to hear. The softness of boundaries. How to say no with love and mean it. This isn't about pushing people away. It's about protecting your peace, loving yourself enough to say, I matter, my energy matters, and I get to decide what I'm available for. So make sure you subscribe, you won't want to miss it. And as always, the magic is already within you. You are more powerful than you know. Until next time.